Welcome back to the John Fredericks Media Network. Great to have you coming to you live in Washington, D.C. I am your Godzilla of the truth in America, your oracle of the deplorables, right here in D.C., where everything is happening. Joining me now for the next hour, kind of a little opportunity to get a co-host with me in studio, the chairman of the D.C. GOP, Washington, D.C. Republican Party, Patrick Mara. Patrick, always good to have you with us.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Always good to have you and my chairman here. We're rocking and rolling. We actually have a party. The Commonwealth of Virginia does not have a Republican Party. We actually have a party. Like, we actually raise money and have events and, don't fight with each other. Well, kind of.
Occasionally. It's hard. It's a hard thing to avoid in a state party.
Once in a while, but we have let's put it this way. We have very healthy discussions.
We have very healthy, well-intentioned discussions.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes they get cut off, but it's all good. Patrick controls the mute button. I've learned in this party, he who controls the mute button has all the power. It does make me laugh. Those things are so funny. No, mute. I even raised my hand. They asked a question. Kelly was like, no, your time's up, dude. Have a nice day. Don't you have something else better to do? Aren't you at the White House? Go in there. It's too funny, man. So we have a good time here. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. But I tell you what else is coming up. That is the spring meet at Colonial Downs, baby. Let's go. Hey, it opens on my birthday, March 12th. Wow. This is like bonus day. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 12th, 13th, and 14th, Colonial Downs spring meet. Now you're saying, John, you always talk about the spring meet. It's 3 days. Like, what's the big deal? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is. On the 14th is the Virginia Derby. That's right. Saturday the 14th. Gates open 10:30. Post time high noon. Guess what? Virginia Derby, $1 million. You know what else? Winner of the Virginia Derby. Guess where they go? One-way ticket to the Kentucky Derby. So you don't want to miss this forever. I never miss it. I'm going to have a suite there. One of those days, I think probably the 13th on the Friday. So you come and join me there. We always have our suite. I've got it all two of the days, but I can't make my birthday. Got too much going on. But you want to check this out. Virginia Derby, Saturday, March 14th. Parking is free. Now, general admission tickets are $5. This thing gets sold out. So you want to go to Ticketmaster.com, and buy your $5 general admission tickets there. You can buy other tickets as well. You want to get a table, see if you can check that out. And parking is free. General admission free for anybody under 5 years old, but 5 or 6 or 7, they can't tell. But if you bring your 21-year-old there, no, not so much. So you got to get a ticket, $5, can't beat it. Now, Thursday and Friday, it's free. You get in for free. So check it out. Go to all the information on the Virginia Derby. Go to colonialdowns.com, and you're good to go. Love that screenshot you got up there, Tyler. Got a QR code. Everything is right there, right? We make it easy for you. Joining me now, Patrick Mara, Chairman of DC GOP. Patrick, lots going on here in DC, but I want to get to this Potomac leak sewage spill, which is stinking the place up. And what's the deal? Like, who's in charge? Who's fixing it? Moore's not done anything in Maryland. He's blaming Trump. Trump blames him. And then, our city council's done nothing. What's the deal?
First and foremost, our city council has done nothing. There should have been oversight here on both the Maryland side, the Virginia, the DC side. Mayor Bowser, to her credit, the Republican Party chair, to her credit, has said she would like federal help here. And so this will probably be President Trump coming out on a white horse and saving the city, because the issue is, as things warm up, this is not going to be a pretty sight nor a pretty smell in the Potomac River. The interesting thing is, it's really been the environmental types, the river keepers, who have been really raising the alarm for a couple weeks now. And the DC Council, and to a certain extent the mayor, they really dragged their feet on this, as did Wes Moore, obviously, but that's a given. And it is going to probably take President Trump to save the day here once again and clean up the river.
It's unbelievable, because it's a sewage spill, and the people that track this have been warning us about this for years, saying, the pipe system in there is corroded, it's eroded, it needs to be repaired. They did nothing. But I tell you this much about Mayor Bowser. You never thought you'd say this, but we're gonna miss her.
I, I
We're
know.
really gonna miss her. I mean, because the alternative is like Mandami to the left of Mandami.
Yes. Yeah.
If Janice, what's her name?
Janice Lewis George.
Janice Lewis George wins, I mean, she is an avowed communist. So
It's
that
scary.
it's scary. And who's the guy running
We'd
against
rather
her?
have Bernie Sanders as mayor than her
Exactly.
to give. I mean, to give
She's
the
that bad.
listeners an idea.
And there's one viable Democrat running against her. Who's that?
That's Kenyon McDuffie.
I'm for him. He's very liberal, but he's not nuts.
Yeah, and that's really that's where we are now in the mayor's race. Is like not completely insane. That's what we need as our next mayor.
Isn't that a sad state of affairs?
Yeah.
Who's your best mayor? Well, the one that's not totally insane, only like half insane.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale. Here
Oh
in
my
Washington,
God, this
D.C.
is how far we've fallen.
Yeah, no, it's a really bad, really bad.
Oh God, I'm running for, as everybody knows, Ward 2 chairman, so we got to get the signatures right. So I'm on
Yes.
the phone making calls to Republicans. I started with four over four, then three voted in the last four Republican primaries, and some of the feedback I get is pretty amazing. And so, it's like, we have a Republican Party. Well, yeah, you vote for candidates. So who are you? And so it's pretty interesting when you talk to people. Some people are nice. Some are like never Trumpers still to this day.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens. But this Potomac thing is really, really bad.
No, and it'll be the White House and President Trump saving the day here. I think. I mean, because the city is pretty helpless. Obviously, Maryland doesn't even want to do anything, and it's a pretty big problem that they've known about for a while, and it blew up over the last couple of weeks.
Let's get to. I'm going to take a phone call, and then we're going to get to home rule and the best news we had about the taxes as a DC resident. Because we got to cover DC because guess what? That's where I live. So it's all good. Let's get to Kevin in Northern Virginia. Kevin, I live in the safest, most beautiful, gorgeous city in America, and you live in the Communist Republic of Virginia. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you rub it in. You newcomer. You've been here 6 months, and all of a sudden you're a geographic expert. Anyway,
Wait a minute.
well,
Actually, I've been here 14 months. I'm a candidate for Ward 2 chairman. I've been here 14 months, and sorry that you guys suck. And I live in the most beautiful city in America. And don't be jealous. Don't be jealous. Just
well, you only had to bring the National Guard with you, John. That's okay. That's okay. So I'm depressed about your attitude about Virginia. It's where it all began, and so I'm calling to find out what would it cost so I can raise some money to put a wrap on your bus and gas in your tank, and you'll have to buy your own coffee. All right, so that's why I'm calling. How much? Would a budget look like for that?
25,000.
In order to do that,
Just to wrap the thing is like 15,000. Just to wrap it. Obviously, if you do a bus tour in Virginia, you can't get the Trump bus there. Like that's not going to fly. So I got to wrap it and then unwrap it and then rewrap it. That whole thing's probably, when you think about rewrapping, the whole thing's $20,000. So that's really where the expense is. And look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm also realistic. I mean, they are going to spend whatever it takes, Kevin, 40, they've already spent 15 million, 30, 40 million to win this referendum. And we have no money, no party, we, Virginia Republicans, no money, no party, no infrastructure. I told you the story before. Ben Markey, who was the former executive director for AFP, long time ago, great guy. He lives in Virginia now with Culpeper, and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, get me 30,000 signs, 2x4, right? And I'll put them up. I got a whole infrastructure. I got all volunteers. I'll get them up." We couldn't even get him 30,000 signs that he was going to put up. We don't have the money for that. So they're not raising money. And the White House is basically, not interested. So it's like a box check. And so that's the dilemma that you have. It's an uphill battle.
well, Well, sure, but it's worth a try,
Yes.
right? What would the deadline be to have that money in your pocket in
Well,
order to.
we'd have to do it. Early voting has already started, so we can't do much there. So, in order for us to win or be competitive, we got to get the vote out on game day. I mean, we don't have that resources for early voting. So it'd probably be somewhere around the second week in April because the voting is April 23rd. I know there's legal challenges, but it would be somewhere in April. And then we'd have to take a look at it. But I mean, I have no ability to raise the money to do this because nobody thinks that it's a viable or winnable situation. So they don't want to throw good money after bad. So that's what we're up against, Kevin. And it's sad, but that's just the reality.
All right. Well, I'll make some calls and see what can happen, and you might be right, but
Hey,
whatever.
you know what? You got to try, right? Like Ann
Gotta try.
says. Ann says
All right.
you got a phone and a pen.
All right.
In fact, she's
Well,
like,
I hope you can manage. I hope you
phones and three
hope you can
pens.
manage to keep the national. I hope you can manage to keep the National Guard in there while you're here.
As long as President Trump's here, we're keeping the National Guard. They're not going anywhere.
All right.
Anytime you
Bless
come
you,
here,
buddy.
though,
Take care.
anytime you come here, call me, and we'll get together. And then you'll come here for a day. You won't want to leave and go back to that communist crap hole you're in.
I'm a contractor. I do work in Washington and Virginia, so I'm all over the place in this area. So I'm well aware of what Washington is. I've lived here all my life. All my life.
Well, you should be happy now.
Whatever.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, boss.
That's fine. So let's get to I got a couple more minutes and then we got to get to our guest here. Good news in that the city council said, no, we're not going to be able to we're not going to align ourselves with the federal taxes. Screw you guys. You're not getting the benefits of one big, beautiful bill. And then Congress and even the Democrats voted that, no, you got to align it. So just tell us about that.
So a couple big things here. They always use this process. It's called the emergency legislation process, which really was supposed to be a true emergency. It's in there. Congress put that in there as part of the Home Rule Charter back in the day. And they're only supposed to do true emergencies. Well, now they're using it for just about everything. And it's a way to secretly pass things with almost zero oversight whatsoever. So there's no hearings. They just pass it. It's like, here's some legislation, pass it. No public vetting of it. And in this case, they cannot, and this is we say this about Democrats nationwide, but the DC Council, they do not know how to save a dollar. They do not know how to cut. They're like that kid that first semester at college who just keeps phoning home for more money and spend. It is not in their single bone in their body to cut anything. And in this case, they don't like tax and tips, among some other things. So something that benefits, the typical citizen, the average worker, blue collar, someone not making a ton of money every year. They want to get rid of that. You know why? Because they need to tax that. They need that money so they can spend it on all their programs. And the DC government, we have over 30,000 employees in DC, 700,000 people. They spend like drunken sailors. The DC government makes the federal government look like a well-run machine, and we know it is not. But in this case, they do not know how to they don't know how to save money. They do not know how to cut costs. They never saw a program they did not like, even if it's not a good program. Remember, we have thousands of violence interrupters, right? Remind me what they're doing again? I mean, I know every once in a while in the news we see that a violence interrupter has killed another violence interrupter. So it's a lot
What's
of them.
What's a violence interrupter?
They're literally, this is what, for instance, Jesus George, they're supposed to intervene in the community and make it nonviolent. So these are people that have roots in the community. And unfortunately, this is another way to just pump a lot of money out there to political cronies. And frankly, we've had a lot of trouble with it because they've diverted money from police over to violence interruption. And what I read about, what I see every day from violence interruption is that there's violence interrupters creating violence. So when we pay for that, we pay millions and millions of dollars for violence interrupters. I mean,
you can't make this.
No,
stuff
you
up.
cannot make this up. So it's kind of like, and that's kind of the issue with it is nationwide we say, oh, that candidate, they're a socialist. It's like, no, in DC they actually are a socialist. They actually are. So Bernie Sanders on the DC Council would make it a little bit more moderate.
Unbelievable. All right, let's get to our next guest. We've got George. George, I want to say your name right. How do I say your last name, George?
It's Moritis.
Okay, thank you, George Moritis with us. I think I saw. Didn't I meet you, George, in Florida?
You actually had me on the show last year, John, when I announced my run for Congress here in Broward County and Palm Beach County.
Okay, that's right. And I met you. I think we had an event. Steve Stern had an event.
Yes.
Yeah. So I met you there. Very impressive candidate, submarine officer of the United States Navy, and candidate for Florida CD 23, running against little. What's his name? Little Markowitz. What's his
Jared Moskowitz, yes.
Little Moskowitz. Do you know that? And I'm not going to say anything about his height. I just make just a factoid. So I met his chief aide at a suite at the Nationals baseball game that Ben Tribbett put on. The only road game, not Astros, I'll ever go to is when Ben Tribbett invites me to a suite. So the guy comes and he's a chief aide for Moskowitz, and he runs around with a crate. And anytime the Moskowitz is on any kind of media, he has to give him the crate for him to stand on. That's his only job. I'm not like making fun of his height, but that's like his job. Like your job is the guy with the crate. So just saying.
I bet he gets paid pretty well.
Yeah.
He's got a crate.
Everybody has a role.
He's got a stool. All right. So this is actually, sometimes people get on and you look at the thing, it's like D plus 90. This is actually a winnable seat for you. How do you turn the corner in District 2023 and win this seat, George?
Sure, John. Well, again, thank you for having me on. The seat is very winnable. It's actually our top pickup opportunity in Florida for the Republican Party in the U.S. House. Governor DeSantis actually won the seat 4 years ago by 1%. So, and I've always outperformed the ticket. I've never lost an election. I was a state representative for 4 years in a fairly even district, and we've always won. We always outperform the ticket. So we only just have to basically just do a little bit better than the standard, typical poll would show for a generic Republican, generic Democrat. We also have the potential of the maps shifting a little bit in our area to address some racial gerrymandering that's been done in the past. When we redress that could potentially shift the map and make it even more even than it is. But it's a very winnable seat. We've raised a decent amount of money. We're over 600,000 raised at this point. We continue to build momentum. We have 5 congressional endorsements, a host of local endorsements, and it's a very winnable seat, John.
George, what is your primary in Florida? Because I know you got a bunch of people running for this seat.
Correct. It's August 18th is our primary. It's very late. The primary is August 18th, and of course the general election's in November. So it doesn't give you a very long runway after you get through the primary. But that's how Florida is. You
guys run the state. Why don't you change that? Because it really puts it puts any challenger at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I mean, of course, that would be up to the legislature to change that. I guess it's a good input. You're right. I mean, some places like Texas are apparently like in January, February. So
March.
March. It was very, very early. I know when I heard that, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, wow, a lot of people haven't even announced until March in elections here. But, that's not a bad idea to move it up a little bit. It would make it, or qualifying for federal is right now, it's April, may shift to June, when these maps shift. But you're right. It is a late primary. I guess that's just, you're right. It's a good point.
Are they going to do anything there with the maps, George?
Yes, they are going to do something with the maps. There's been racial gerrymandering in the state, and the Supreme Court, has said that that there's going to be another case coming out of Louisiana. We think that it's going to say that no longer is any racial gerrymandering appropriate or allowed. And so our state constitution does allow for racial gerrymandering. It's been done historically since the Voting Rights Act. But when this case comes out, the governor has actually called a special session in late April to address this. We do expect there to be a couple of seats. Our particular seat abuts a district that's that has been racially gerrymandered in the past. I would say that racial gerrymandering really is a thing of the past. We have blacks, or I should say African Americans, that are now elected as Republicans. Alan West represented our area in Broward County as a Republican. Byron Donalds, of course, represents the Naples area, and he's one of the leading candidates for governor in the state. So to say that only a black or an African American only be elected in a majority African American seat is no longer the case.
George, how do you win this primary? You got 5 candidates, and is there? I forget about Florida. We cover so many states.
Sure.
Is there a runoff, or is it you have to meet a percentage, or is it just a straight plurality?
Yeah, it's a straight plurality in the primary, and of course, and in the general. You know, in the general, typically
Right,
only 2
obviously.
parties, right? But yeah, in the primary, it's a plurality. So there is no runoff in a partisan election like this. So yeah, as far as the path to win, well, I was the chair of the Republican Party. As I said, I was a state representative in this area for 8 years. So a lot of people do know who we are. We are, Boca is a part of it, but it's really not a large part of it. It's only about 30% right now, and that could even change and become less with the map. So we are the best positioned candidate because we are the best known candidate in Broward County, and we do have a money advantage at this point. So we do expect it to be we are in the best position to win the race right now as a Republican, and I would say even in the general election, I've always polled well. Again, I'm very conservative, but I have always outperformed the ticket and gotten a lot of crossover voters as well.
Would you consider yourself to be the MAGA candidate in this race?
Yeah, I mean, we are seeking the Trump endorsement, so I don't want to pretend that we have his endorsement. We've actively seeking it, though, and I do support President Trump's agenda. That's kind of one of the reasons we need to win the seat is because we need to protect the Republican majority in the U.S. Congress. If we lose the Republican majority in Congress, then we could expect there could be impeachment hearings. It'll definitely slow down the agenda, the tax cuts. All those things have been done, but everything goes in jeopardy if we start losing different branches of the Congress.
George, when I was there at the Broward, I think it was a Broward County annual dinner event where we met. I saw all your signs up.
Yeah.
And I was the MC, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting at the table, and I wasn't really familiar with the race, and I see all your signs up, and we had met, and I was going to mention, hey, don't forget, we got this seat, and George Moretas can win, and blah blah blah. And so I'm like jotting this down, and the person next to me says, "Oh, you can't say that. He's establishment." I'm like, I don't even know what that means. You'll upset the other people running. I'm like, well, when I got here, they told me he was the favorite to win. I mean, let's just win the seat. And they're like, oh, you can't mention his name. Everybody got upset because he's establishment. What the hell's that mean?
I don't know because I'm not in office right now, so I'm not sure what it means by establishment. Again, maybe they mean because I was the chair of the party and I served our country as a submarine warfare officer. I served our state.
Is that because he was the chair
of our party? If that means establishment, I suppose I'm guilty of it. But so is anybody else who's been in elected office at some point.
Yeah, you're actually the chairman of the RNC made this joke at an event we had. But when you're chair of pretty much any party at any given time, 20% of the people in the room hate you. So like the 20% of the people who are Republicans are saying he is establishment.
It's so true. It's hard to keep everybody happy even within a political party. But
it's a rotating 20% but 20% at any given time.
We had a lot of success.
I don't know what that means, and I'm like, so like I asked Steve Stern. I'm like, do you know this guy? He was sitting by me. He's a wonderful man, by the way.
Steve is great.
He's your vice chair, and his lovely bride is there. We're talking to them, and I'm like, hey, what do they say this guy's establishment? What? And Stern is like, well, he's for this, for that. Everything he said, you're like 100% MAGA. And I'm like, what is the problem? Like, what does this even mean?
I know, I agree. Everybody's always going to put things out there. Suppose that's politics in some sense, but in the end, again, I am the most pro-Trump candidate in the race. I do support the president's agenda. We're actively seeking his endorsement, and again, as we move forward, we hope to get it, and we hope to, of course, win the primary. That's the key.
All right, policy question. You're a former submarine commander.
Right.
I want to get your thoughts on what we're doing in Iran, George.
Sure. So I was actually a submarine lieutenant. I don't want to say I was a commander, but I was a lieutenant commander. We got out of the reserve. I did serve on active duty in the Mediterranean. We did back then. We were kind of countering back then with Saddam Hussein before he fell. We also were involved in Kosovo. Iran is very important to our to contain, particularly with their nuclear ambitions. Not to mention even all the riots going on or the protests that had been going on that have been basically squashed brutally by the regime. Our interest is really in not having Iran either attack Israel or our other allies in the region, such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and others. And so we do have to make sure under no circumstances that Iran obtains a nuclear weapon. President Trump has shown great leadership on this with the bombing last year. He's now sending a signal by sending more of our aircraft carriers over to the region. But we are, in no under certain terms, going to contain Iran from being a threat to the rest of the region.
So President Trump says he's trying to make a deal. And if he makes a deal, then we'll all go home. If he doesn't make a deal, then he said, we'll go from there.
Right.
I mean, a deal, and we asked at the press briefing yesterday what a deal was, and obviously Caroline couldn't answer that.
Right.
But I mean, a deal has got to be the Ayatollah leaves, right? I mean, there's no other deal to make, right?
I don't necessarily think that's the deal. I think the deal is they would give up their nuclear program once and for all and start to cooperate. And we don't want to see people starving. We don't want to see the protests. What we want to see is Iran give up its any kind of ambitions to be a nuclear power and threaten its neighbors and stop sponsoring terrorism. Those are our goals. Ultimately, the government of Iran is going to be up to the Iranian people to determine. But as the U.S. and supporting our allies in the region, our interests are in stopping terrorism and stopping nuclear ambitions.
You're the man. George, thank you. I'm sorry that you're MAGA. This means you're a MAGA establishment?
What a good word for the president, John. I appreciate it. And again, if anybody's interested in the campaign, it's my website is george4congress.com, or follow us on X at George Armoritis. And thank you, John, for everything you're doing for the cause.
Well, thank you, George, and thanks for being with us.
All right. Thanks, John.
Okay, buddy. You're on the John Fredericks Media Network, trucking the truth across America. Truth and clarity. You're going to get it right here. We're going to go to a quick break, Tyler, very quick. Then when we get back, Daniel Lynn Brown is going to be with us, chairman of the DC GOP, Patrick Mara with us, co-hosting for the next segment. And we're going to be right back. Stay with us.